Alec, today we have a listener request. This is from our buddy Alan. He has requested Paul Verhoeven's 1987 action film, RoboCop.
RoboCop.
What are your thoughts on a rewatch of RoboCop?
It was a lot better than I remember it. So I've only watched this, interesting enough, only like I think 2 or 3 times. This was actually, and my parents, if you're listening, please turn off for a second. This is the first R-rated film that I ever saw in my life. Now, I will say the caveat to that is it was in German. It was the German version of RoboCop because I was living in Germany at the time. And so I went over to a friend's house and his family was watching RoboCop. And so I didn't really know what was going on too much because obviously I didn't know German. So, but certain scenes hit so much harder with that. When they originally shoot Peter Weller's character, Alex Murphy, at the beginning of like right, obviously is his first day or whatever, is so much darker when they're all yelling German stuff. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, it was like, it gave me nightmares for weeks, but
wow,
I digress. So this is,
awesome.
I tell my parents that Terminator 2 Judgment Day was the first R-rated film that I ever got because they let me watch it, but no, it was RoboCop. So anyways, having a second watch, I really enjoyed this. This was so much better than I expected. I was really pleased with everything that was done. And I think it's almost in some ways even a more interesting film now than when it was in 1987. Some of the commentary that Verhoeven's trying to get across with this film, because it's so much more than just an action film, much like most Verhoeven movies.
Oh yeah.
There's so much subtext, so much under the surface that you kind of have to dig through that he doesn't flaunt at you. But it was super interesting to do. And I gotta say, like, this movie was a lot funnier than I remember it as well.
Yes,
now,
it is.
Granted, I was pretty scared of this movie growing up because of that scene, which I'm reading about it, he had to cut a bunch from that shooting scene because they did more and audiences were so disturbed. Even the test audience were getting up and leaving that he had to kind of cut it back. But still, it's still one of, some of that probably is nostalgia, but it is one of the scariest scenes.
There's cut scenes in pretty much every Verhoeven film. There are super hyper gore action sequences that he's had to edit down and cut down. Yeah.
I really got to enjoy this scene. I have to say the gas station scene where it all blows up and RoboCop's just walking through is still absolutely stunning and amazing that they caught that all on camera. It just, even now, even into 2024, Alec, looking at it, I was like, this shot is amazing.
You're seeing now an appreciation for everything that you can acquire in camera because of Christopher Nolan's basically insistence on doing just that. And now audiences are starting to go back to this stuff and realize this is a big deal. Like choreographing this, blowing in and for really pretty dangerous. I mean, I've seen this film countless times. I begged my dad to let me watch this when I remember seeing commercials for this on TV in the late 80s and begging to go watch it. And he was like, absolutely not. I don't think I first saw it until high school. And I don't know if I rented it, but I've had several memorable viewings of it since. One with Alan, who's requested this, buddy of mine from college. Alan. Yeah, great recommendation from Alan. But Alan and I would have watched it several times together and just laugh our tail off. I work for Dick Jones. Dick Jones. and the I buy that for $1 recurring is just a brilliant like play on corporate greed and capitalism. And it just, that's what audiences kind of missed on a first viewing is the subtext in this movie.
Yeah. So there's so much to it. I say that line, I'd buy that for $1 so often. And I had completely forgotten where it came from. I couldn't have told you. And then I'm watching it going, you got to be kidding me. I've been quoting RoboCop.
You've been quoting RoboCop.
Time. Oh my goodness.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
even, oh my goodness, what's his face? Kurtwood Smith, who plays Boddicker, where he's like, ooh, guns, 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 you know, or I think it's him who says it. I just watched this. I should remember. But someone like, there's just these great little lines where everything gets said, and it's fantastic. The writing is excellent in this. There's a lot.
The best line though by Boddicker is, bitches leave.
Well, because he says it with like no emotion. He's like,
none.
bitches leave. Like it just straight up doesn't care.
It's super quotable. It's this movie is incredible. Like you said, they grabbed what they could in camera, and frankly, other than the stop motion for Ed 209, largely the film holds up really well visually. I mean, granted, they're driving these kind of modified Ford Tauruses, if you can kind of look past that. But
it's Detroit.
It is Detroit.
They have the money to get anything better than Ford Tauruses.
Yeah, it's Detroit. I mean, by the way, I remember reading a snippet that the suit was so big that Peter Weller couldn't actually get into the car. And so if you see him in the car, he has the top of the suit on, and then his legs are there's no suit. And then when he steps out of the car, it's just one leg covered in the machinery that just steps out, and it's from below. So they edited and hid all the fact that he can't actually get into a Ford Taurus in that suit. And Weller is incredible in this role, by the way. I mean, and he seems cool with it too, that it's like the career defining role. Like he doesn't seem to have any issues with it at all.
No. For
me, Peter Weller as RoboCop is like Keaton as Batman. Mm-hmm. Like it's just this perfect fit. Like it's an impressive performance. And because the stuff when he goes through the house that's empty that his wife and kid lived in. Let me just tell you, this movie's super funny, but this movie turns on a dime and is super depressing as well. Yeah. Like exceedingly dark, like existential darkness type stuff. Because this isn't like the remake where he gets reunited with his wife and kid. They're gone. He died. Yeah. By the way, the remakes just don't watch the remake.
Okay, I haven't yet.
No.
So, all right.
It had its potential because they were trying to explore more of the existential element of being turned into this. But it's ironically enough, the original movie does a better job at exploring that than the remake does. So it's like they were just wasting their time trying to squeeze money out of the.
Well, good that didn't watch it. Actually, this is the only RoboCop I've ever seen. I have not watched 2 or 3, or obviously the remake.
2 is worth a watch.
Well, I found out that it was Irvin Kershner directed it. You know, Empire Strikes Back. Okay, yeah,
2's good. Yeah, it's not as good as this one, but it is a very, very good follow up to not be directed by Verhoeven.
Yeah,
but it's not particularly funny. No. It's mainly just super dark. Like they just went full bore with the dark for RoboCop 2.
Okay.
But it's still a good film. The opposing villain thing that he basically fights at the end is way more menacing than like Ed 209 or it's just
Dick Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
cool.
Yeah. RoboCop 3 is dreadful.
That's what,
They made it PG-13, really toned it down, and he flies.
He flies. He
does. Right, he has jetpacks in RoboCop 3. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. And it's not Weller.
Oh, no, yeah, you can't.
Yeah, RoboCop 3 is not Weller.
Okay, that's
RoboCop 2 is still Peter Weller. Yeah. So, and by the way, RoboCop's rated a 5.8. RoboCop 2 is on IMDb. Ooh. I'm telling you, it's not a bad film. It's not. I've had many discussions with people about this. Like, it is not as good as the original, but like it is a very good sequel.
Okay. All right.
So if you like this, I would say, but yeah, it's just, they just went full bore on the dark. Okay. And some of the action sequences in it are cool too, but yeah. Anyways, back to, we probably won't do RoboCop 2, but
no. Well, so going back to the scene that you talk about where RoboCop's walking through his house, you know, Murphy's house and stuff like that. And you got to remember, you're only seeing the bottom half of his face as he's emoting. And so like he's got to get this all across without having any type of eye movements.
The edit helps too, though.
I mean, the edit,
the edit helps.
Yes, but he doesn't play it like just straight either. Like there's definitely some things that Peter Weller's doing that is making it more interesting and more depth to it than just the cuts. I mean, the cuts would help, but it definitely help. He helps it along. So I think he was able to really bring to life the character and get across and make you connect with RoboCop outside of just him being Murphy.
And it's a super fascinating character. Like let's establish this, right? Like it could have just glossed over that as an action film. Like, oh, okay, so he was a cop. He dies this really gruesome, violent, hyper-violent death, and they salvage him, basically. But they do investigate that some. Is there any humanity left in him? They don't, like, answer it outright. They kind of let you kind of, as a viewer, jockey with that if you're interested in that. I mean, there's so many different ways you can watch this movie. Like you can watch it for its action, you can watch it for its comedy, or you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of like the existential stuff on humanity and but it has all those things working for it. And so I'm telling you, this is one of one. Like there is nothing else like the first RoboCop film. Like there's not. Hollywood would love to duplicate this kind of thing because it did do well, and it especially did well on home video. Yeah. I mean, this was obviously pre-DVD, but man, this thing, it was 13 million estimated budget. It made 53 million.
Oh, wow. That's not bad.
Oh yeah. It was good. And it was for a hard R-rated film.
Yeah. It was, the R was definitely for the violence and the gore. And then of course the obligatory Verhoeven co-ed locker scene. It's got to be in all.
Is there a co-ed locker scene in Total Recall, though? I know there's one in Starship Troopers.
Yeah. I can't think of the one in Total Recall if there is one. But
by the way, we are going to do the Holy Trinity of Verhoeven.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Which will be Total Recall. We're probably going to bundle Total Recall into some sort of that mythical season of Schwarzenegger we keep teasing.
Oh, yes. We need to do that.
We're going to do that film. And then we do have a request that's been sitting on the books for a while from another podcast, actually, on Podbean to do Starship Troopers because of the Helldivers game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have to do that sooner than later. And I love all three of these movies from Verhoeven. Like, and you talk about a director that I can instantly recognize a Verhoeven picture. He's the only director that I know of that does bigger bullet hit squibs than Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I see chunks of flesh flying off people from just like a 9mm gun.
Verhoeven.
Yep. Or a guy getting his arms ripped off or, whatever. So it's going to be from him.
So I will say one thing I really kind of laughed about is some of the choices that the characters made or other people made. Like, for example, right at the beginning when Dick Jones is showing off, Ed 209, and he's like, wants to simulate Ed 209 working with something. So he hands the guy the 50, the Desert Eagle essentially, but then hands him a magazine to put into the gun. I'm like, why would you give him a loaded Desert Eagle in an office building with the old man? Like, what? This makes no sense,
By the way, that scene is, the first time I saw that scene, I was mortified. And I'm still mortified every time. You know what it is? It's the sound design in that scene. There's this whirring, low-pitched hum from basically the Ed 209's power source, like his hydraulics and stuff. When that thing powers on, the cut is really good too. The edit back and forth as it ramps up, and they sell it so well, like like halfway through, this guy's gonna die. Like and it's there, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like, but it goes from mortifying to hilarious because Dan O'Hurley plays they just credit him as the old man. Yeah. Right. The head of, was it OCP? Yeah. After the guy gets shot and then does he fall out? Or does he just get blown away?
He just gets blown away and he falls on like the model that's right there.
Yeah, and then the old man just goes like this. He just puts his hand on his head, like the disappointment. Not that the guy died, but that the thing doesn't work. That's how absurd this movie is. The guy's not even sad that this guy like got blown away by Ed 209. It just, the implication is, oh, we failed again at creating this police robot. It doesn't work.
No.
That's how twisted this movie is.
I will say I really did like the Ed 209, the whole model, what it looked like. I thought it looked really actually cool. And I'm not too upset even now going back to this at the stop motion. Like for stop motion, they did a really good job of having it kind of, the composite work that it was to put it into the frame.
So the composite's clean. Mm-hmm. Right. It's just the way things move when you stop motion animate them. It's pretty easy to tell. For the time it works, and nobody's going to spend the money to go back and revisit that. So,
well, I will say like the cool thing was that Phil Tippett did the Ed 209 stop motion, which Phil Tippett from Star Wars fame and Rancor and stuff like that. He actually was talking about the fact, someone was asking him, like, how did you get Ed 209 to fall down the stairs? Like, what kind of trickery did you do? He goes, well, we made a model of the stairs in Ed 209 size, and then I just pushed the model off and we filmed it. Just boom. It makes me go ahead.
No, it's sometimes the simplest explanation is usually the correct one.
Yeah, just push it off. It really reminded me of an interview that like Trey Parker and Matt Stone did when they did Team America World Police. And they're just, not the same thing, but he was talking about like the absurdity of working with the marionettes. Yes. He's like, when the sex scene happens in Team America World Police, he's like, I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars of camera equipment, lighting equipment, other stuff around. And all I'm doing is we have, one marionette laying down, and then I've got my hand on just the foot out of frame of the other one, and I'm just shaking it back and forth. It's like just to film this scene. It's like, and that's kind of like when I read that's the kind of same, feeling I got from.
We're gonna have to discuss Team America because.
Well, it's fantastic.
Little tease. I actually worked with a visual effects editor, and she worked on Team America, and she had some funny stories and anecdotes.
But okay, but going back to the decisions that some of these characters make, like the one after like the battle where basically RoboCop has been hit really hard, and after they take off the mask, and he's like, my targeting, like he starts like stands up, and while. Oh my goodness! Murphy's partner, whose name escapes me.
The actress is Nancy Allen, but it's Lewis.
Yeah,
Lewis. Yeah.
So, anyways, Lewis is still sleeping, and all of a sudden, RoboCop starts shooting bottles or things of that sort, right? And then Lewis wakes up, and he's just like, and Lewis is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "My targeting system's off," and so it's not working. But he's shooting bottles that are like 3 feet away from Lewis. Like it's not shooting away from Lewis. He's shooting like in the same direction as Lewis. And I'm like, you're doing this while your targeting system is off? Like, let's make better choices. We do have a fun a fun character thing for another show that we've done. But Emil, the guy who played Emil, who gets the toxic waste dumped on him and he melts and things like that.
Dude, that scene's incredible, by the way.
Absolutely incredible. Fantastic. But he plays the VP in The Offer that's trying to undermine the Godfather.
Really?
He's the one who gets fired by Matt Good's character.
Oh, yeah. Jack Ballard.
Jack, yeah.
Back to that whole sequence is utterly incredible. You talk about another use of practical effects when he crashes that delivery truck into that toxic waste and then falls out the back and is just melting. The makeup is incredible. And then they do that great edit. I don't know what they cobbled together to run into. It looked like pig guts, frankly. Yeah. Like it didn't look like watermelon or something. It looked like like cow parts or something. But that scene is, I remember that was a scene that like the TV version, they completely cut. Mm-hmm. I saw this thing a lot later on, it'd come up on TV and you'd always be really curious, like how heavily edited it was. And it was like when Murphy dies, you barely see anything. He's just like yelling. And then, when that guy gets hit, the toxic waste, I think they show him just for a little bit, just going, oh, and then you never see him again. Like they don't even, they don't have the car hit him or anything like that. It's just like,
with that scene, it was really interesting too, because obviously they did the makeup for when he first gets out, but they continued to change it as he was deteriorating. So it wasn't like they just did, okay, this is him kind of melting and we'll just leave it. Like they actually took the time to show the stages as he was continuing to melting in that short span of time. So I thought that was really good. And just
the prosthetics and makeup artists in the 80s, I think that was the best era for that stuff. Because you've got this, and then, the standard bearer for that kind of stuff, I still feel like is the thing. Carpenter's the thing. But throughout the 80s, you've got a lot of this really cool. You've got Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, which is the makeup in that is ridiculous. And you talk about like body horror. Yeah. Because this is basically what that is. Like,
yeah. So, well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a guy by the name of Botten is the special events director. Apparently he and Verhoeven almost came to blows over an argument, because when Murphy removes his helmet as RoboCop, Botten was like, it needs to be dark. Like, I don't think the makeup and the other stuff is going to work, because it was mostly all practical effects. It wasn't like they were CGI in this stuff. It was all, he's like, this is not going to work. It needs to be really, really dark and lots of shadows to kind of hide some of these imperfections. And Verhoeven was like, no, my cinematographer is going to just light it, and none of this is going to show up. But apparently they argued so much that Botten did not talk to him the rest of the shoot, would refuse. If someone had to talk to Verhoeven for him, he would send someone else.
I would love to tell you that that's not that common. That's super common.
Yeah.
That's super common. Shoots go haywire. People get stressed out. They say things they shouldn't say to each other. And then it's silent treatment for the rest of the shoot. That is extremely common. And then producers are forced to be these mouthpiece go-betweens.
Yeah.
Because they're petty children and they won't talk to each other. Yeah. That's still
happens.
I've heard the same stories on stuff. Such and such as, I can't remember the production, but it nothing I've worked on, but they've certainly remained super common. Yeah. Egos are huge. People don't like to be told what to do, or that their idea is not as good. And
or they're wrong. So, but anyway, so they didn't talk for the rest of the shoot. And apparently Botten had said, I'm never working with Verhoeven ever again. This is the worst thing ever. And then they watched the, not the premiere, but essentially the work print or something. And the scene, I mean, you've looked at it, you've seen it, it is done really well. It is lit so well that it doesn't look fake. It looks really good. And so apparently both Verhoeven and Botten kind of looked at each other, were like, wow, that's amazing. And then kind of made up. And so then Botten worked on Total Recall.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
so they made up. So it
cooler heads prevailed.
Yeah. Well,
no, that's encouraging.
Months later, but,
thank goodness, because Total Recall is incredible too.
Yeah.
And with Kawato and
Kawato. I can't wait. We're going to talk about this movie. Oh.
I told you my daughter when she got pulled out during the cesarean looked like Kawato. Just open your mind, Quaid. Open your mind.
She's gonna hate you for this. That you've said this when she's older and she's seen that movie and she understands what you're talking about.
Nobody's gonna be listening to this podcast when she's 18.
You're just gonna be like, no, you can't watch Total Recall because. Why?
We should have
reasons.
I'm going to regret not just turning this into a double episode of RoboCop and Total Recall.
No, we need to give Total Recall its due.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, Verhoeven actually almost didn't do this film. When he was given the script, he read the first several pages and was like, this is dumb. He didn't get it, threw it down, and then apparently went swimming, in their pool or something. And so his wife came in, picked up the script and started reading it. And he got out of the pool and was like, don't read that. It's junk. It's terrible or whatever. And she finished it and she goes, no, it's really good. And kind of talked to him about some of the subtext that was in and talked him into doing this film. So we have Verhoeven's wife to thank for RoboCop.
Behind the man, a good woman.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think why in the first few pages it wouldn't have grabbed him. This movie doesn't take long to set up.
No, I mean, and it could have been written differently too. Like it could have opened with just Murphy as opposed to opening with some of the, the commentary stuff that was added in about all the ads and the marketing stuff that was going.
Yeah.
So, which was a lot of fun to see a lot of those ads and those marketing stuff. Just like, oh, this is rough. Not rough, but like rough and like not good. It's rough and like, oh, wow. Like, seems familiar in some ways.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, but for the marketing stuff, I really want to play the Nukem board game. Like that just looks fantastic. Just, come on, let's just do it. Let's just play it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That's what you've got to pick up on this stuff with Verhoeven, these funny commentaries he's making about, usually Western or American culture and consumer culture. And then obviously Starship Troopers has a field day of making fun of fascism, basically, which has nothing to do with like the source material. Like it's not. And then Total Recall, you've got more of the underpinnings of like class warfare and stuff like that. Not as much on the consumer end, but yeah, he's always got something funny to say. Some sort of really wisecracking political commentary running underneath these movies. And it's why big element of why I like this one.
Yeah. Well, it's why it stays around and lasts too. It makes you think about it afterwards. And it's not just here's action and gore and some good dialogue. There's also stuff that you're like, oh, wait. Or if you watch it a second time or a third time and you're just kind of like, oh, I didn't see that before. Oh, it kind of makes you think.
Yeah. They also do a lot of cocaine in this movie.
They do a lot of cocaine in this movie. It's the 80s. Come on, man. And it's Detroit. What else are you going to do?
I sort of feel bad because like this just
did Detroit not do well for Detroit.
Yeah, the CVB was not happy.
Oh, man. Well, I was definitely happy that I got to watch it again and got a lot more out of it and enjoyed it. And it did not bring me nightmares this time. So that's good.
I can only imagine
them
goodness. Yelling
that was probably
in German.
8 or 9 years
That's
old.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So
I can see that though. Like the consonants and stuff in German.
Yeah. I mean, and also because it is all such a dark scene too, of him just getting his hand blown off, shot multiple times. And then,
it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Yeah.
I mean, maybe my parents knew, but I don't think. Well, you got anything else that you want to talk about with RoboCop?
No, I mean, part of the reason we discuss these is obviously for our own entertainment, something we've kind of always done, but I like to bring attention back to a film like this. I think most moviegoers have not forgotten really about RoboCop, but I think some folks probably have. And just know that it's a much smarter film than you probably remember it being. Far more intelligent film than people give it credit for.
And keep in mind, it does it in 90 minutes. This is not a long movie. Like movies of today are 2 hours. This is like, it's not very long.
Hour and 42. So yeah, not even just
and like that includes credits. So
yeah, it does. So you're right. The actual runtime is probably not much more than an hour and a half.
Yeah. So
yeah,
Verhoeven was able to do all this commentary, get a full story across, make it interesting in a little over 90 minutes.
It's lean and mean.
Yeah.
That is RoboCop. There is less violence in the US than there was in 87 when this was made. Like, I know that's hard for people to believe, but statistically, like, this is true. But with the way the media covers everything, things feel as bad as they did in RoboCop.
If not worse.
Yeah. The 24-hour news cycle, you'd think that there's a RoboCop in every major city in the United States. Yeah. And can I say, the freaking movie poster for RoboCop is incredible.
Oh, with him stepping out of the vehicle? Yes.
Yeah.
The thing we couldn't actually do.
Well, he could do that. He could stand in front of the car with his right leg sort of in it. That's all he could do.
Yeah.
But that poster is iconic. Like, just one heck of a movie poster.
Part man, part machine, all cop.
RoboCop. Yeah. The games were good too, by the way. The arcade games are particularly pretty solid. No, it's a good franchise for the most part. I mean, the first two anyway. 3's terrible. The remake's bad.
Yeah.
And he's never really showed up in anything else. So
let this be a Peter Weller character and leave it at that.
I know Hollywood would love to relaunch this thing properly and have it be profitable, but I don't know. Well, that wraps up old RoboCop.
Another Cinema A to B production. We want to just say thank you to all of our listeners and watchers, wherever you get us. We really appreciate you. We do this for the fun, but it seems like some of you are getting enjoyment out of it. So we're really happy about that. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to us. And I'm sure we'll have some more things on the horizon. Maybe that Arnold Schwarzenegger season is going to be coming up soon. We don't know. We got to talk about it. And possibly also another live episode. We've been talking about that too. So
yes.
Keep listening to these because this is how you get your information. But feel free, drop us a line in our YouTube channel or our email at cinemaaToB@gmail.com if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or requests. We'll be happy to add them to the list. But otherwise, we'll see you next Monday.
Thanks, everybody.